Guideline number 1. We include lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, and ammonium. The anions that are involved here are nitrate, acetate, and chlorate. If you have any combination of these, or even any one of these, or any one of these within an actual compound, they are all soluble except for calcium chlorate. Even though chlorate is soluble, because it's got calcium in it, and if you go back to the beginning part of the lesson, you'll see why, it is considered insoluble. So that's the only exception to this rule. But typically, when you see any of these, or any of these in your compound, you have something that is considered soluble in water. So, guideline number 2 includes silver, lead, mercury. The anions that we include, carbonate, phosphate, the oxides, and sulfides, as we said, are insoluble, as well as hydroxide. Right? So these are all insoluble, except for the exception of the following. Barium oxide, barium hydroxide are soluble. Any group 2, right? So any of the alkaline earth metals combined with sulfide, they have a tendency to decompose themselves. So these are the sulfides and the oxides that are actually considered soluble. So if you see these in your compound, as long as they are not combined with one of these soluble ones, they will be insoluble solution, or in solution. Next one, group 3, we have chloride, bromide, iodide. These are all considered soluble unless they're going to be mixed with one of these guideline 2 cations. Barium, calcium, strontium, here in guideline number 4, these are considered insoluble. And the last one here, we've got magnesium, copper, zinc, iron 2 and iron 3, and aluminum, as well as the anion of sulfate. These are considered soluble. But now, how do you use this, right? Well, let's combine something. Let's combine here Na, right, with phosphate here. Now, according to the guidelines, PO4 is insoluble. Sodium is soluble. Now, which guideline do they follow? Na follows guideline number 1. Phosphate follows guideline number 2. Because guideline number 1 is higher, then technically this is considered soluble. So we always follow whichever guideline is the highest within our compound. Right? So if we mix something like here, barium with which is insoluble with, let's say, chlorine. So Ba plus 2 with Cl negative 1, we get BaCl2. Barium is insoluble. Chlorine is considered soluble. But because barium is part of group 4 and chloride is part of guideline 3, the higher guideline surpasses the other. So, which means barium chloride is soluble in water. All right? So that's how we use the guidelines. So you look at your compound and try to figure out where does it mix with, right? So which one of the guidelines do they belong to, right? So even though you have this, any one of these to dissolve with one of these or to combine with one of these, because this is higher up in the guideline, they're going to be all soluble. So even if you have something that is soluble here combined with anything that's insoluble, because this one is higher in the guideline, right? That will make it whatever that would be, right? So if it's insoluble and it's higher in the guideline, it's insoluble. If it's soluble and it's higher in the guideline with an insoluble that's lower in the guideline, then it'll be soluble. So always look at the guideline. So use this guideline to help you out.